sort of plan for the sermonic diet before coronavirus was very different for this year, but it's changed since. And we did do a sermon series on the topic of Revelation, and I thought to myself, look, I just think that there's a few more things that we can nut out and focus on in terms of end time stuff, in terms of the future that we have to look forward to in Jesus, and how that affects our present. And so today I want to just preach out of Matthew 24 if I can, and probably spend maybe this Sabbath, this sermon, and the next just exploring some of the themes out of Matthew 24 and 25. And, you know, this year is definitely, it's a landmark prophetically, and it's a reminder that the things that the Bible has foretold prophetically, we're seeing it happen on the world stage. Matthew 24, of course, talks about these very things. Is Jesus talking about the things that will happen before he comes again? You know, when Evie and I were going through distance, when we first started dating, and then of course in my first year here as well, when she was still studying at college and I was here all by myself. Some of you remember my bachelor. It was a little bit, the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" You know, the disciples have that question because Jesus has left the temple for the last time, and he says to them, you see this temple right here, there's coming a day where it's going to crumble down to the ground. What a shock for the disciples. Looking at the edifices of the temple, so firm and so stable, and Jesus is saying that there's coming a day when that's not going to exist any longer. You know, what Jesus really does in Matthew 24 is he reiterates his promise of his soon return. Okay? I want you to notice with me something as to how he actually begins to respond to the disciples' question. He says in verse 6, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass." And then these signs, right? He's in the process of talking about what the world's going to look like. Hey guys, this is what the world is going to be like before I return. But then he is sort of giving these little intermissions where he says, "But endure. And don't worry, the days will be shortened. And just remember, the end is not yet, even though these signs are happening. And these are the beginning of sorrows." Matthew 24 is Jesus reassuring his disciples that his coming is still happening, even when it looks like he's not. Okay? Now, of course, as Adventists, we have a perspective on Matthew 24, right? And we do this in our evangelism. We bring out this whole idea that there's wars and rumors of wars, there's signs, these are signposts, these are things that show us how soon Jesus' return is taking place. And yes, that there is that element as well, because Jesus says, when you see these things happening, start looking up, because you know that your redemption